It's now 6 o'clock, and I'd like to welcome you to the April 9th meeting of the Citizens Public Safety Review and Appeal Board. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Jason Allen.
Present.
Christopher Caldwell.
Present.
Wally Ferreira.
Present.
Luis Garcia.
Here.
Ebony Hemphill.
Present.
Susan Stapleton.
Here.
Larry Tolbert.
Present.
Thank you for being here tonight, in person as well as via the city's live streaming platforms. Public comments will be accepted during the times as indicated on today's meeting agenda. Community members that wish to provide public comments over the phone can call 888-382-9556 during the citizen comments period. They will enter a queue and will be prompted to offer their comments in turn. Callers will be commenting to the board live and will no longer be able to leave a recorded message.
Thank you. We'll now move to the PCR report.
This is our first business meeting in quite some time. Oh, yes, absolutely. Sorry.
We have a few different agenda things up here. So I guess before we have the PCR report, could I get approval of the minutes of the October 10th, 23 meeting?
I'll motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Now.
Oh, didn't want to get ahead of myself there. Good evening, everyone. For all those watching, my name is Chuck Mason. I'm the inspector with Kalamazoo Public Safety. So we haven't had a business meeting in a while. So the 2023 PCR annual report I had hoped to have in front of you for this meeting. It's completed. It's in front of the chiefs for review. I just wanted to ensure that the chiefs had their eyes on it before it went out to the public. So hopefully that be provided to you here in a forthcoming meeting. But at least I have in front of you the 2024 numbers thus far. I know that we talked about sometime last year about providing some additional information on, or some additional context for some of these complaints. I did want to say that 7 out of 12, so just over half of these complaints stemmed from cases that were proactively generated. That's traffic stops, citizen contacts, whereas the remaining 5 are related to calls for service. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
So I have one, because I think there's a finding that we're not typically used to seeing, which is the referred to human resources.
Yep. So that one, after investigation, was determined to be between 2 city employees. So that one was best determined to be handled by HR.
Thank you.
But since it initially came in as a PCR, it will stand as, it will just hold that number. It'll just essentially be closed on our end.
I just have a query, and you may not be able to elaborate too much because like some of them are still open and
Sure.
whatever. But I'm just curious if you can share as to whether, like in the zone in particular, where some of the complaints have come up from, are they related at all, or are they in the, like the against the same officer perhaps, or anything like that? Are you able to share that with us, or?
There doesn't seem to be, just kind of at a glance right now, there's not, doesn't seem to be a whole lot of consistency between the areas of the city where the complaints are coming in from.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
Actually, sorry. I just wanted to clarify about when you said that some of them were proactively made. So from, is that like from an officer's contact, having contact with them initially?
Yeah, if we can break down police actions into reactive and proactive. Reactive would be responding to a call for service. Proactive would be generated by the officer rather than the form of a traffic stop or a citizen contact, something of that nature.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there, I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
You know, we have 4 in Zone 1.
Yes.
2 and 2, 1 and 4, 1 and 5. Is that because there are more officers in those zones or for some other reason?
I should know all these by now. Several of these, so the majority, there's a couple reasons why. One, if a citizen comes to, sometimes I'll lump in, like KDPS headquarters is in Zone 1. So if the citizen comes downtown and doesn't have a specific, they don't have a lot of specific information about when and where, or maybe it's just a general complaint, I'll put Zone 1 down. But glancing at these, the majority of the Zone 1 complaints had to do with mobile nuisance parties, which tend to concentrate in Zone 1, the downtown area at night. So I would say that that's the reason for the kind of the repeat Zone 1 complaints.
Thank you.
Mr. Allen?
Yeah, I have a question. In looking at the report, I mean, quite honestly, what catches my eye are all of the complaints seem to be posed by African Americans for 2 that were non-race. So is there any discussion or anything about why so many are from this demographic and not the other demographics?
I'd say probably majority contact with law enforcement. I really don't have any other numbers for analysis on my part. From my perspective in the office. So. It's not a great answer, but unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot I don't have a whole lot of information to. I would love to come to you with data, with something to do an analysis, but.
Is that possible to do? Because I'm quite sure that they're not the only demographic that's having contact.
Yes, it is. It would almost require it would be more beneficial to do a year-by-year analysis so we had numbers, right? It only really makes sense looking at year after year, which it would take time. But then you also get into the motivation for filing a complaint, which even if you were to do analysis and say this is my belief as the Office of Professional Standards as to why complaints are coming in. Unfortunately, I can't answer the question as to the motivation of the individual to make to actually file the complaint or their belief in the officer's actions. But it's striking when you look at the numbers. I will agree with you there.
Yeah, I would agree definitely.
Yeah.
All right, I appreciate the honesty.
Yes. Mr. Tolbert.
One more is when you have not reported for the gender and the race, is that because it was internal or not?
No, when someone files a complaint, they have an option to put on the form gender and race, and if they don't put it at all, I'll just put NR.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, just a follow-up on this conversation is when an officer has contact, whether it be going to a service call or proactively, do they have the demographics of the people that they're contacting at the time? What I'm trying to get to is whilst we're receiving what it appears to be an overwhelming amount of African American complaints, I think it would be also beneficial for us and for the community to see how does that compare to the demographics of the calls for service. So like what the mixture looks like. So out of X amounts of calls for service, how many African Americans get contacted, or how many Hispanics get contacted, and so on. I don't know if that's one possible, and two, whether if that's you see any benefit on that.
It's another very hard number to grab. You could look at, I think about the numbers that we have available, like a number that I know we have is arrest numbers, but that's not a great number at all, because that's only a certain, segment of contacts that went up in arrests. It's most of the calls for service that go on throughout the day, that data is never reported. Even though officers are writing cases, and when they write a case and they put person's name in it, certainly race and gender get incorporated into that case, but then all the additional contacts which don't end up having cases written, which are, and they end up being able to resolve without a report, those kind of go into the wind. And I would say that almost is the majority of our contacts that we have with people, that they're able to resolve it or solve the issue without actually having to write paper on it. So that's the unfortunate part about that. So,
Thank you.
yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I ask if there are any comments from our board members. There are none. Next would be citizens' comments.
There are no call-in comments.
I'd like to remind folks of our upcoming meetings, May 14th, 2014, and June 11, 2024, and June 11, 2024. And at the May 14th meeting, there is a scheduled appeal hearing. At this time, I'd like to remind folks that the dates and times of the board's outreach efforts will be posted on our Citizens Public Safety Review and Appeal Board website, which is at www.kalamazoo.cpsrab.org, as soon as it is confirmed by any of our members. We are hoping to be out and about, introducing ourselves to the Kalamazoo community, and as a way to listen to any issues and concerns that you might have, in particular with public safety, but as a way for the public to be listened to. And so we'd like to encourage our citizens to be taking advantage of any of these opportunities where we'll be out and about in the public arena. And if there's no further business for the board at this time, I'd like to adjourn this meeting, and the board will be moving into a closed session to work on our subcommittees. Meeting adjourned.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.